Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another series of our Caradonna Master Series. And today we will be traveling to the beautiful island of San Salvador and visiting Riding Rock Resort and Marina. Our hosts today are going to be Betsy Campbell and Tyler Schultz, and they're going to present a wonderful presentation about the amazing diving that there is in the area of San Salvador. And at the end of the presentation, our agent, Amy Garrow, will be answering questions that she is monitoring on Facebook Live. So without any further ado, go ahead and take us to Bahamas. And the destination is open.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elisa. First, I'd like to thank Caradonna for giving us the opportunity today to speak about our little island jewel and destination. And second of all, I'd like to thank everybody else that's tuning on Facebook Live today. So anyway, my name's Tyler Schultz. I'm the operations manager for the diving in San Salvador. And Betsy is a pretty stable fixture down there as well. We've both been there 12 years, and we would like to discuss it. I'm going to go over a little overview, first of all, on how we get there, a little bit about the accommodations and the diving operations, what you may see, the type of diving we have, and then finally kind of what to do on the island, other than just scuba dive. So with that, we'll just jump right into the presentation. So first thing I want to mention is how I ended up in San Salvador. It's an interesting story because I was on a beach in Palau, and I'd taken several trips to the Pacific, and I own a dive store in Michigan. And I'd kind of worn out the pathway to kind of the typical operations that divers go to first, the Cozumels, the Bonairs, and they're wonderful places to go, but I'd been there several times. I was in the Pacific a few times, and we were going through a kind of a hard time economically here in Michigan, and I was finding I wasn't able to put those trips together. So I was talking to one of the guides and about the situation I was in, and he said, "Well, have you been to San Salvador?" And I said, Central America doesn't really mean much to me. I don't know much about the diving. He said, no, not San Salvador, Central America, out island Bahamas. I said, well, I'd actually been to the Bahamas and kind of been there, done that, had taken a group there a couple of times. He said, no, you got to go to the out islands. So I looked into it. It was a little bit difficult to get to, but eventually I got there. And I chose San Salvador because he had really recommended it, and never looked back since. So what you have to do when you get there, you're going to find it's a little more difficult to get there, but once you get there, it's well worth it. So we are off the beaten path, and we're good with that. So anyway, we're going to talk just a little bit briefly about the Bahamas, and here we have 5 recent happy graduates, their heads full of knowledge. Yet when you lay down on the map of the United States, 2 of those 5 kids don't know where the state of North Carolina is. 3 of those 5 don't know where the Bahamas is. So we're going to talk about this island nation of the Bahamas that's so close to us. So first of all, they are an independent country. They're an island nation. In 1973, they declared their own independence from the British Crown. And the flag represents, which they're very proud of, the people and the progress of the people, and the blue represents the turquoise of the beautiful water there, and the yellow is the sun. So let's talk about Bahamas quickly as an island nation. First of all, total area overall is about the size of the state of Oregon. Then when you just figure in the land mass, it equates to about the area of the size of Connecticut. We're only 50 miles off the coast of Florida. We're actually an 800-mile archipelago from north to south. There's 700 total islands, 2,400 keys, and only 30 of those 700 islands are actually inhabited. Of the total population in 2015 of 375,000, 275,000 were on the island of New Providence, which is where the city of Nassau is, which is their capital. 50,000 on Grand Bahama, of which where Freeport is. So that total of 325,000, you've got 50,000 people left to go over 28 more islands. So on the island of San Salvador, in the last census, the total population was 930 people, over 60 square miles. To let you know how important tourism is in the Bahamas, 85 out of every $100 that comes into the Bahamas is tourism based. So here we have the typical logo we see, and it's a great logo for their nation because it represents all the different islands and the different personalities and the different colors and the flavor of each different island. So when you look geographically where we're at, we're not far off the coast of Florida, north of Cuba, north of Haiti, and you can see how far it stretches from the north to the south. Then we have the out islands of the Bahamas, and the out islands is a little bit their own separate breed. They're also termed the Family Islands, and anything outside of New Providence and Grand Bahama is considered out island. So now we're going to talk a little bit about San Salvador. San Salvador is actually considered central Bahamas. Again, 60 square miles. You'll see it's actually in the North Atlantic. It's not in the Caribbean. And you can see the Tropic of Cancer, we're just north of that. And if you look latitude-wise, if you go across to the left on the screen, you'll see that San Salvador is almost directly between Key West and the northern coast of Cuba. So, and this is an interesting fact about San Salvador, that several years ago it was determined by the country of Spain that this is where Christopher Columbus actually waded ashore. So I found this in a book about archaeology, and I'm just going to read this very quickly. At about 2 o'clock in the morning on October 12th, 1492, a lookout on the ship the Pinta sighted an island called Guanajuani in the local Aboriginal dialect. Later that morning, Christopher Columbus waded ashore on what was most likely San Salvador Island in the Bahamas. He encountered Guanajuani's Aboriginal inhabitants. They were assumed by Columbus to be Asians, perhaps from the semi-mythical Spice Islands in the East Indies. In any case, he called them Indians, and that name would remain with them to the present. So here's actually Columbus's first voyage in 1492. You can see his first stop as he's coming on the southern route. As he's heading west, he runs right into San Salvador and continues on from there. So he thought he was in the New World. And so consequently, we have 2 memorials there where we call Landfall Park, where in theory, that's where Columbus waded ashore. And those were put there by the country of Spain. So, and not to leave out the divers, we also have an underwater monument representing the landfall of Columbus. So let's talk just a little bit about getting to the Bahamas. Seems to be that is often the objection that we have to overcome. But what you want to do is get to Nassau. All the major airlines fly to Nassau. So once you get there, you then will jump on a flight. You will go from an international flight to the domestic terminal to a domestic flight, of which you will then jump on the Bahamas Air, which is the national airline of the Bahamas, and they serve all the islands. Now, we're trying to get you off the beaten path. So when I first went into the airport and I saw this, I was like, oh my gosh. Well, the reason I took this picture so you could see this is that in the foreground, you will see there's a stanchion, and that is for the people that are connecting to the family or out islands. The main part of the room is for people that are going to stay on New Providence and visit Nassau. So you can you don't have to stand in that long line as long as you're going through to an out island. Then you'll jump on a little smaller plane, which is a 50-seater, and very comfortable planes. And we will start our flight, which is about 50 minutes over some beautiful water and islands. And we will eventually come into San Salvador. Now here you have an island of 900 people. And if you'll notice, you have a 7,000 foot perfectly paved major runway. And that's because a lot of the previous history of San Salvador was military based. So the US had a very heavy presence of the military there, and that was actually one of our bases, and that was the beginning of that airport. It's since been extended. Now, when you fly in, you'll look out the right-hand side of the plane, and you'll actually see the Riding Rock complex sticking out on that point. And so we're not far from the airport, and that's looking back the other way. Okay, we're supposed to see a
video shoot.
Video here of a cool jet landing. But anyway, so there's the before, there's the after, but you can see we can take big jets in. So the other reason we have big jets landing there are basically two dive operations and two places to stay on the island. You have Riding Rock Resort, which is us, on the right side of the runway, which our property butts right up next to the airport property. And on the other side, there is a Club Med. So Club Med has, when it's in operation, it has the jet service coming in from Paris and Toronto. So anyway, welcome to San Salvador. Get off the plane. This is the sign that's welcoming you there. And the first thing you'll notice is everybody stops at Wendy's for an ice cream, which when you say you got a Wendy's on the island, you know, people are like, well, I want a double cheeseburger and a Frosty. Well, that's not it. So then we get you on a bus and we take you to the resort. And that's about as far as we have to drive. And this is just a picture of the bar and the restaurant and our beautiful front porch. And that's the view from the front porch. And if you want to sit out there and eat, you're welcome to do that. And everybody catches the sunset. Then we have the Driftwood Bar, which this has all been newly renovated in the past few years since we had the last hurricane that did go through. But it was very beautifully done. We have our swimming pool and our two-story rooms, which all have beautiful ocean view, which is where you will be accommodated. There's a view of the rooms. And then that's the view out your room, off the balcony, looking toward the marina where we actually have the diving operation. And you'll notice that beach, which you have full access to, beautiful sand beach out in front. The snorkeling is quite good. It's quite shallow. We do some dives there. If you're an instructor and you want to train some divers, that's a great place to put people in the water. You don't have to worry about stepping on sea urchins and sharp rocks and coral heads. It's pretty much sugar sand all the way through. And this is one of the views. I just had caught this picture one night. I just thought it was beautiful with the sun going down on the right and the rain clouds on the left, but you're always looking out at the ocean and to see the weather. And nobody misses the sunsets. So here we're getting ready. The evening's coming, and you're not going to leave hungry. That's the one thing people will say. It's because you don't have a lot of stores and places to go on the island to fill in the gaps. And the most common comment I hear during the week is nobody's going home hungry. They will keep you well fed. And that's our friendly staff. And there's one of our recent divers there, and you can see he's got plenty to eat. So that was actually this year at New Year's. We had a little New Year's party for the group. And those of you that have been there before, you'll recognize this friendly face. That's Peaches, our bartender. She's an institution. She's been there for a long, long time, and keeps a close eye on the bar and makes fabulous drinks at your request. So this is a quick layout of the daily schedule. The only reason I put this in here is you'll notice from 6:30 in the morning until 6:30 at night, we pretty much keep you going. So a lot of people will mention, well, there's not much else to do on the island. Well, if you're a diver and you're going to do all the dives, because we do 2 dives in the morning, a dive in the afternoon, we throw the 3 meals in there. There's not much time, maybe to catch a nap on the afternoon surface interval, but you stay pretty busy. So historically, the riding rock has been around a long time. And I happen to be going through one of my old issues of Skin Diver magazine from 1985. It just happened to be the old Mel Fisher issue where he found the Atocha, but I found an ad from the riding rock. And I just saw the one paragraph that says San Salvador Island is one of the most peaceful, uncommercialized islands still in existence. Uninhabited white sand beaches stretch for miles, and friendly people make you feel as if you found your home away from home. And today, that still holds exactly true. So I'm going to talk just a bit here about our dive sites and the formation of the island, what makes us a little bit different. But our island was formed in a little different manner than some of the other Bahamian islands. And most of the Bahamian islands it was kind of a lift, kind of a plate coming up from the bottom. As the water spilled off, you were left with these little islands that formed over a period of time. Where San Salvador, we're farther east than the typical Bahamian island. And we're actually a seamount. And because we were formed differently, it gives us a unique type of diving when you relate us to the rest of the Bahamas. So we've got 13,000 feet all the way around us. And we come up to the bottom, we've got this rock on the top. So what that does is this gives us a really diverse type of diving from the standpoint of the bottom formations. The fish and the fauna that you're going to see is very typical to the rest of the Caribbean, Bahamas, or North Atlantic, with some variations. There is some variations in the sea life from the north to the south to the central. But our walls, our canyons, our deeper reefs, our sandy chutes, the rock formations, the cuts, the swim-throughs are one of the most unique that I've experienced over my years of diving, which is one of the reasons it keeps me coming back over and over, as well as several of our customers. So, and then recently, the good news is we've become a sanctuary. We've achieved sanctuary status. So there's an awareness on the local level to let people kind of know the locals to know what's going on. We try to educate the divers to that when they come in, and you'll notice on the right-hand side of the screen, a lot of it's protected. All the area in green is a protected area. So, and the locals, knowing that tourism is a big deal to them, they tend to really honor the area well. And so consequently, our reefs are quite healthy. So now I'm going to talk just a little bit about the dive operation. And we named that Guanajuani Divers, hence the local connection. And when you get there, it'll be either myself or, oh, I see there's a lag. There you go. Has that been doing that the whole time? Mm-hmm. Okay. So anyway, you'll find that the two of us, either Betsy and myself, will be there. We've been going to Riding Rock for 12 years, the two of us. And I oversee the diving operation. Betsy's there too. She tends to be there a little more than me, but we're there to make sure that you have some great diving. And I think you'll see we've got quite a bit of experience. And here we are, the two of us. We're on the reef there. We're getting a report from Lieutenant Dan, one of our favorite groupers, who's been around forever, and that's his section of the reef, and he lets everybody know it. But we have some really friendly groupers that just love to have their chin scratched. So here's the dive shop area, or the diving area, and you're going to notice that everything is really close together. We have kind of revamped the whole operation. If some of you haven't been here in a while, it's been an ongoing project over the last 5 or 6 years. And this is kind of our layout, from rinse tanks to, we have areas to hang the suits, to chairs for you to sit. The shop is yours to go in and play cards, play dominoes, but everything's very tight. You'll see the dive boat there in the background, just by the marina. So in terms of moving your gear, or and even our proximity to the dive sites is so close, sometimes we come in and just chill out and wait to go out for the second dive. So here's our work area. Those of you that have, this is.
We've noticed there's quite a delay between live and us, so.
So here's our recently assembled work area. So I brought down and got in place essential tools if you need to work on dive gear, which you're welcome to work on your own, or also Betsy and I are pretty good at fixing stuff. We're happy to help out. Which you also have access to that. Then we have a whole new variety of rental gear that's new within the last couple of years. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
So in the next photo, then you'll see that there's one of our 2 dive boats, and you will see the proximity to the dive shop and within the marina, so you don't have far to go. So that's actually dive boat we call Guanajuani 3. Then one of the nice things about diving at Riding Rock is that once you put your equipment on the boat, it stays on the boat for the week. I recently went to a place and I got in great shape lugging all my gear off the boat, putting it away, putting it on every morning. You're going to leave your stuff there. We rinse it. We make sure everything is in working order, and we fill on the boat. And then you've always got some orange slices or the fresh fruit of the day for in between dives. You'll see in this next photo, you'll see actually our 2 dive boats positioned next to the dock, and you can see the entrance to the marina in the middle. So what we'll do is on day 1, we gather all your equipment, we bring it down for you. You never have to carry your bag. We'll lay it out on the dock. We will assist you in putting your gear together if you need it. If not, you're welcome to do it. Then you can take your bags back to the room or put them in the storage closet, and they will stay there for the week. The next picture you're going to see is actually of the marina, and San Salvador and the area around it is very well known for its deep sea fishing, various fish in different seasons. These guys will come over from Florida, fishing tournaments for the big marlin, and it's very well known for that.
This was supposed to be a video, but the videos for some reason aren't playing.
Okay.
Can I interrupt if I back out of the share and readjust the PowerPoint? Do you think the videos would play? Okay, let me just try that.
which makes San Salvador unique in the variety of the sites that we have. The first type that you'll run into is just kind of a sandy flat. Usually there's not much relief, maybe 10 feet or so, but what you need to know is everything starts out in sand, it gets reefy. The edge of the wall, pretty much along the whole side of the island, is about 45 feet. And then it will drop off to often secondary walls, and then it goes off into La La Land. So where's the slide with the little dots, little red dots? Okay,
no
so
problem. So that's the dive boat heading out for a morning dive. Focus on this. Focus on this.
Okay. So anyway, the boat's heading out, the entrance to the marina. There's G1, that's the other dive boat, 36 foot, 38 foot respectively. And this is the interior on G1, which we can typically handle a group of about 20 people if you know each other pretty well, but it spreads out, especially on G3, pretty well because we have an upper deck that you can hang out on. Now we go into the types of diving sites that you're going to experience. I broke it down into basically three. We have kind of one and I have heard people talk to me about the depth in San Salvador. And it doesn't have to be all deep diving. Sure, we offer that, but we also offer great shallow diving. So, which is the beauty of the diversity of the site. So we have a typical flat site would be the sand at about 35. It's very reefy with sandy slots going down to maybe 45 feet at the fore reef at the edge of the wall. Some drop off to about 90 feet, flatten out again. Other ones just continue down several thousand feet. So you may have 10 feet of relief. And then another is the classic wall dive. Again, we're starting at about 45 feet at the fore reef. As we drop over the wall, it goes down. There's your 90 foot. And so those folks that love the wall diving, that want to dive a little deeper, can follow the profile deeper. The other people can be more shallow, and you can just stack yourself up and follow along. And then the other type we offer, it's starts at roughly 45 feet in the sand. We have a nice sloping fall off down to, again, a little deeper wall. But again, sandy slots, a lot of nice coral heads. And these are our dive sites. We've worked very hard at bringing back our dive sites because historically, Riding Rock goes back over several years. And because other than Club Med, we're the only other dive operation. So these pretty much are our dive sites. So as I got looking back at the historical records that I could find, and I found a couple old maps, we've been able to, with the help of the locals and with Tony, the captain, we've been able to find a lot of the old sites that those of you that have been here haven't been in the last 5 to 6 years to San Salvador, they're now available. And the other nice thing is that the lack of divers that are on the island, these are not high impact sites. So some of these sites that you may dive only get dived maybe once or twice a year. And they're sites that we have set up specifically. We don't share with Club Med, and they're not interested in going there. And they're absolutely fabulous sites. And we've put in 10 in the last year. We've recovered about another 12 to 15. And then we have now a total of about 50 dive sites, which those of you that were there 10 years ago, we were down to about 20. So we've really opened up the entire west side of the island. And so when you look at, again, the beauty of it, often a concern of long boat rides is maybe seasickness, or some people just don't like to go for long boat rides. Some people do. So we offer both. If you come out of the marina, you'll notice if you go north, I put about a 10-minute marker there, and there's probably 7 or 8 sites that we can get to within 10 minutes. And as we go to the south, you'll see how many sites are within 10 minutes, within 15, 20, and 25 minutes if we do want to go for a longer boat ride. But I cannot emphasize enough the diversity in these sites as we go from north to south. We didn't put sites close to each other because we just gave you another site to put in your logbook. We put sites in that we found were interesting, either from the coral formation, the local flora, or the unusual topography on the bottom. Now, the other thing is we very seldom get blown out because we're far enough south. We do have a prevailing east wind instead of a west wind. So the gentleman that decided to put the riding rock initially where it is picked a perfect location for that. So we've just taken advantage of that with some amazing dive sites. Some of our best dive sites are within 10 minutes of the marina. And they're just putting it to scale. You'll be able to see at the top of the picture, you'll see the paved runway. And if you drop that runway down, you'll see actually how many dive sites you can cover in just that many feet. And here we are just coming back from an afternoon dive. It can be really rough on the other side of the island, and you can see how calm it is where we're at, as we are on the leeward side. So we've set up mooring. All our sites are moored. We don't do much live boat diving. If we do, we'll announce it and give you instructions how to handle the drift, so we all stay together. But we tend to do more moored sites because we don't have the strong currents there. Any current we typically get will be on the surface because the wind will be coming over the island and kind of picks you up and pushes you off the surface a little bit. But all our sites are moored. Another thing is I read historically through years and years of Skin Diver magazines about the riding rock, is they're always bragging about the visibility. And I think one that bodes well because we don't have the rough winds. It's typically not the windward side of the island. So things get to settle really well. This picture I took was actually from the top of the boat, from being on the boat. You're looking down. That sand is about 50 feet deep, and that's how sharp that shadow was of the boat on the bottom. And then when I got down, I turned around, looked up, and took a picture from the bottom up. So here's actually Betsy kind of leading a group, of which, again, all our groups are guided. Nobody goes in the water without a guide. You do have the freedom. You have to go and dive within your ability and your limits. We can't stress that enough. We do ask that you stay within your ability and your limits, but we're always going to kind of be keeping a close eye on you. And here you'll see the next picture of me actually falling down through some of the coral heads, heading to one of our great dive sites. So now we're just going to kind of get typically into some of the stuff we'll see. I want you to notice the nice sandy flat there with that nice southern stingray with the barjack. And I'm up close to that's guy, we actually named him Big Ray. And he's very commonly in that area. One of the things we've done also over the last 10 years is we have aggressively gone after the lionfish population. You'll notice when you get there, our reefs are noticeably bare of lionfish, and we have aggressively gone after those lionfish. And based on that, we have noted, and other people have noted, an increase in our juvenile and our small fish population, which we've been very pleased about. But we have very aggressively eradicated our lionfish. It'll be rare that you see one. And there's a scorpion fish. Just going to show you some pictures of typical stuff we kind of see.
So if we keep talking, you guys will see the basket star, even though there's the delay on Facebook Live, correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay. So here's a basket star out in the daytime. If you haven't seen those are fairly, you got to look for them, but they are fairly common and relatively easy to find. And our pink-tipped anemone with the spotted cleaner shrimp.
There's no delay.
There's no delay?
No, he says we're fine. Keep talking. So this is a Peterson shrimp.
So Javier, you do not see a delay? Okay. So if you're into macro, we've got it. If you're into wide shots, wide angle stuff, we got it. So little stuff is there, big stuff is there. It's got a little bit of something for everybody. Here's a little red snapping shrimp hanging out in a corkscrew anemone. And if you look closely at this pink-tipped anemone, Betsy is circling with the cursor a little squat shrimp. And then if you look at the next photo next to that little squat shrimp, there's even a smaller shrimp. As you know, when you get to those anemones, you got to look close. A lot of the neat stuff is small. There's a fantastic mantis shrimp hiding out, looking around in the sand. Then there's a nice picture of a hairy crab, piece of coral. And then along our walls, hanging out in our overhangs, you'll see these pretty good sized, the channel clinging crabs. They're a little shy. And then again, looking small, you've got the lettuce sea slugs. Then we do occasionally do night dives, but on our night dives, you almost always see an octopus, but we actually were able to catch this octopus out during the day, the Caribbean reef octopus. And there should be a video to follow here. Diver impact is, again, quite minimal on these sites, which is what makes it unique. Also, the animals aren't used to seeing us, so they don't have an innate fear of being harassed by divers. We've got some flying grenards. Here's a pair of them. This is actually right out in front of the restaurant. And we've got our hawksbill turtles. We have a nice population of turtles. They're very friendly. You can get very close to them. And we've got a video here to follow of a hawksbill just typically hanging out on the bottom, loving to have his picture taken. Notice certainly we're focused on the animal, but also notice the terrain in the background. That's actually a new site we just put in last year called Shortstop, which is right out in front of the marina. Fabulous site. And we've got a peacock flounder coming up. And then here's a nice little shot of a video of a peacock flounder with the bar jack over top, and he's looking. They're typically over top of the rays, and they follow the rays, but that little flounder wanted nothing to do with him, so he just kind of drifted off. Go find some action somewhere else. And here's a great barracuda, very common to see out there. We will see small schools of them. And again, notice in the background the sloping sand and the garden eels. And we have a queen angel. And then we've got our white spotted filefish. And their patterns will often take on a different look. So you'll see here the same fish, but kind of a different layout of colors. And we get it back into the small stuff. You've got your slender filefish. You got to look real close for these guys. This is where you want Betsy nearby. She's really good at finding this stuff. Four-eyed butterfly fish. Our banded butterfly fish. We've got our gray angels. We've got our sharp-nosed puffer. Isn't this cool how they all posed in pairs? Caribbean spiny lobster. We requested that. Lots of lobsters. And then if you look close, if you're really good, or you've got a good dive guide with you, they'll point something like this out to you. The long snout seahorses. And this is really, this next picture is really cool because they were holding tails. Man, they're hard to find.
That is for sure.
Betsy getting a selfie. There's our French angels. The burrfish just hanging out. And if you look really close, about the size of a pea, you'll see this nervous little creature swimming around, the juvenile trunkfish. That's a real find when you see those. Then your spotted trunkfish. And you get into your flamingo tongue. You see that on that picture, it's laying eggs. And then about one out of, I think it's about one out of, it's a few thousand, you will occasionally run across, looks like a flamingo tongue, but it's got a different pattern. It's called actually a fingerprint siphoma. The next picture you're going to see after the fingerprint siphoma is actually kind of a lookout across the sand. And sand doesn't have to be boring. You'll notice that we've got some great structure to our sand. Somebody told me once on a boat, you got the best sand in the world here. And it changes with the with the surge. But we get this in the little deeper sand, the more permanent structures, the home of the southern lugworm. And it's really nice to swim out that, and you'll see it shooting up like volcanoes, and they'll have all kinds of little stuff in between. You got to look close. And then you've got the garden eels that are always, facing into the current, looking for something to eat, and very, very common. We have lots and lots of garden eels. Your spotted moray. The green moray. Then you get small again, you go to the peppermint goby. A piece of coral. Then the next video is the juvenile drums. Nervous little guys are swimming around. It's interesting they're that small, but they're showing off that much with those big fins. I think they'd want to be hiding a little more. Little juvenile trumpet fish. So you can see our small stuff is good and our big stuff is good. There's a whelk, big mollusk. It's laying an egg sac on that soft coral. And as it deposits those eggs, as it deposits them, each one of those discs has got somewhere at least 25 eggs or more in each one of them. Betsy can tell the story about this little guy.
Little rough-head triple fin blenny. I had Paul Human, who obviously makes the reef books, down, and he was on a mission to find only the triple fin blenny. And he said, take me out and show me the triple fin blennies. And I took him out and I would spot them and he'd take pictures. And by the end of the week, because I would continue to spot other things out, he just said, my trip is complete. She showed me everything I wanted to see, which was really nice to hear from somebody that is into photography like he is.
And again, I cannot emphasize enough how good Betsy is at finding the small stuff. That's what you like to see. And all I have to ever say is, Betsy, do you know where my wallet is? Boom, she's right on it. She's never wrong. There's a yellow-headed jawfish. We've got a lot of these guys in the sand. And we've got lots of sponges. In fact, one of our sites we named Spongeworthy. It's got so many sponges on it. Big barrel sponges. And so we caught this one spawning. You'll see in this video.
See it at the same time. It's just delayed online.
Okay. Then here's another one. This is on one of our walls. That's kind of cool. And we'll get into our little bigger animals here. We've got the nurse sharks. These just easily cruising around us, not too excited about anything. Let you get a picture and then swim off. You'll see we also have got some real friendly reef sharks. You're pretty much going to see sharks. You never want to guarantee what you're going to see on a dive, but I can almost guarantee you'll see sharks on every dive. They're pretty comfortable around the divers, yet these are still wild sharks. We do not feed them in terms of a feeding type dive. We do not have shark dives like that. We don't chum for them. We don't draw them in. They are naturally curious. And based on the number of lionfish that we've killed over the years, they will come in and they are friendly to us. But they're apex predators and they're curious. So you're always going to get great shark pictures here. And as we move, they tend to stay fairly local. And as we move north to south along the island, you will notice there are different groups of them. And these are the Caribbean reef style. So you will see, a handful of different types of sharks. You'll see occasionally the lemon shark. We do have tiger sharks there, but very rarely seen. We have the nurse sharks. We have the Caribbean reef. We have the great hammerhead, and we have the scalloped hammerhead. And there's.
So you can see you can get close to a shark without even trying.
Yeah, he's going to get close to you. Often the new diver it'll make them a little nervous and they tend to kick their feet a little more, and the shark will kind of investigate that. But then they just move along. And you can see we're around them enough. We actually occasionally will just jump on their nose and they'll take us for a ride. So here's typical shark behaviors. You're down on your knees, trying to get a picture. They kind of move in, and if you're not thrashing around, they're pretty relaxed. And again, note the terrain, the coral heads, all the fish around the coral heads, the slight slope. Then we have, this was actually taken on it's a little blurry, but it's we took what we could get. This picture of this great hammerhead was actually down on the south side of the island, coming up from the deep. And we're unique. We have two species of hammerheads. One is the great hammerhead, and you'll notice, but the longer, more sloping dorsal fin, they tend to be up a little more shallow. And then as the water gets cooler during the year, San Salvador was one of the few places in the world that you will see the scalloped hammerhead shark. The scalloped hammerhead is actually one of the foremost rare sharks in the world. And we were contacted slightly over a year ago, the BBC Nature film crew came out with a shark expert from Florida State and his assistant, and we spent 2 weeks looking for the scalloped hammerhead. So we're waiting for that show to come out, but they actually did 12 days of diving with us. And I'm not supposed to tell you about the ending, but did quite a nature documentary on the island and what we have in the waters there. That's actually the guy filming, Johnny Rogers from Ireland. Great people. So here's some rare footage, a video of a scalloped hammerhead. Betsy was able to get. Notice the difference in the dorsal fin. It's a little more straight, a little more upright, and a little broader. They're very shy. You have to be looking out generally into the blue to see them. I did see one in December, and it was right in front of the resort. And it was interesting because the film crew came down and they were ready for this huge adventure. Where are we going to go to find these sharks? And they figured we were going to have to be out on the boat for a couple of days. And I said, you guys, if we're going to find these hammerhead sharks, it's going to be right in front of the resort. And that's exactly where they are. That video, in December when I was there, the hammerhead was virtually right in front of the resort in about 30 feet of water. And I did have a witness, so it did happen. And here's two of them. Here's a picture Betsy got, which they're just swimming along outside the edge of the wall. Beautiful, beautiful animal. Then one of our friendly dolphins made the front cover of Scottish Diver last year, and they're these playful guys. You never know where they're going to show up, but they're camera hogs, and they've gotten very comfortable around the divers. Even though we're not there very often, I think they're happy when we are there. There's actually 3 of them. They come up and pose for pictures. And we have this, kind of rule that you don't harass the wildlife and touch things, but
they harass the wildlife.
Sometimes they harass the wildlife. You're saying they're pulling on Ray's tail.
I brought a little toy down to see if I could interact with them more, because they just want to play. That's all they want to do is play.
They totally dominate the dive. So Betsy's going to tell you a quick story here about.
So they took my pole spear on this one dive, and she wrapped it around her nose, and then she took off, and she was literally spinning in a circle with the pole spear flying out on her nose. And when she breached up to take a breath and came back down, of course, the pole spear comes off her nose and it just goes flying through the water column, and off she goes. And the group of divers I were with, they basically shooed me and said, go get your pole spear. And so off I swam. Thank God all 3 of the dolphins were there that day. And the 2 boys chased after the gal so that I could find her. And when I came up upon her, she was actually laying on my pole spear and then inched up on top of it, basically not wanting to give it up. And I had to very cautiously slide it out from underneath her. And then I actually had to disassemble it and stick it into my wetsuit because she was bumping me to play. And obviously I was on my way back to my divers and moving on.
And you can see the guy on the left is eyeing it up.
Yeah.
So anyway, we typically don't reach out and play with the wildlife, but in this case, they just want to be petted. I mean, when they're in the mood, they'll let you touch them.
Again, they chasing the ray, and if you notice when they flip over here, the ray actually takes his tail and tickles his tummy.
So now this next video, if you've ever watched Blue Planet, this could be on there. The dolphin went down, got a fish, and offered it off to Betsy. Betsy didn't take the fish. She went back down, got the fish, went up, took a breath. Now she's coming down and she will drop the fish off and feed the shark. So watch this. Shark takes the fish and is gone, and then she takes off after the shark. So you can see we're on the sandy flat there, and then it's just sloping down off. Very typical profile. And then there's our monument, and often around the monument we see all kinds of cool stuff. There's a ray, and he's got a peppermint shrimp on him being cleaned. And then if you look closely, there's a coney underneath the monument. If you look out about the size of the fingernail on your pinky, you'll see the little juvenile drum swimming around. And then the sharks will even gather around it. It's pretty cool. There's always something going on at the monument. The groupers love to hang out there. Then now, I mean, you're on a 60 square mile island, and it's a diving destination. And I would say, well, the top question I get is, what do I do if I'm not a diver? So let's look at some things to do while you're here. Again, most of your day is going to be tied up in and off the boat, of which at all times the non-diver who might be with you is welcome to come along with us. Tony's great company. He's got some great stories. And again, we're in the water roughly 45 minutes to an hour. But you'll notice that around San Salvador, there's one road, and it's like a NASCAR track, because you can't cross the island because of the brackish lakes. And about a third of the island is actually surface water. So as you go around, there's 5 major settlements that make up a huge percentage of the population. So you'll see everything in terms of civilization is along the coast. So you can take an island tour when you're there. This is kind of a typical road going around the island. Some are a little wider, some are a little narrower. It's one of 2 hand-lit lighthouses in the world on Dixon Hill, and it's a cool thing to go up in the lighthouse, check it out, and talk to the lighthouse keeper, full-time guy. We've also got some ruins there that, if you look into the history of Watling, he wasn't the nicest guy, but that's where he hung out. It's kind of an adventure to go up and find the ruins and look around. And then we've got beaches, and we've got fabulous beaches. If you want deserted beaches and you want to be left alone, you need some time off from the crazy world we live in, we can take you to the other side, drop you off, pick you up in a few hours, and you get a chance to unwind, and you'll be the only one there. There's some people. This is actually the southern tip of the island. And then just outside of the marina, I mean, this is you leave the dive boat, you walk across the marina, up over the little dune, you come down, and that's the beach that you've got all to yourself all week to hang out and relax on. We do have internet service there, but we encourage people to try to enjoy your week and break the chains of life at home here. And you can just sit out on the beach, and you may, if you miss the sunset, you might get the moon coming up. We do have a couple of bicycles now that you can ride into town. Town is about a 15-minute walk away. It is British rules, so that cars are driving on the wrong side of the road. We also encourage, it's a little bit old school, but we encourage people to bring a deck of cards and bring some dominoes. If you don't know how to play, we're happy to teach you. That's in the dive shop. We've got a refrigerator. You can just pack some drinks in there and just sit around and have a good time. Get to know your fellow divers. Jigsaw puzzles there's always one sitting out on the table. And we encourage karaoke. We encourage a couple of drinks and then karaoke. And then one of the things we have found has been popular with my group is we go down there, we'll have a theme night. We do a murder mystery, and people dress up for it, and it's really a lot of fun. The first time I was thinking, this is a little goofy, but I'm going to tell you what, we've done 2 of them. It takes a little organization, it takes a little planning, but usually there's somebody in the group that loves to do this, can build a little of enthusiasm. And here we had a Las Vegas night with a murder mystery, and somebody was killed right in front of us, right in the middle of the bar, and then the goal is to solve it. Everybody dresses up, and good time was had by all. So, and then we had another dive shop from New Orleans come up. They were there 4th of July, and they had fun with that theme. Then, you know what? If you run out of everything else to do, you know, that's a book I've been trying to read for a long time. Every trip I go down, I take a book with me. Either I fall asleep with it on my chest, or I sit out on the porch and read. It's always fun to turn pages in a book. Then here we are getting everybody together at the end of the week with a group shot. I think we see smiles on everybody's face. And that's actually my group from Michigan. Should have put black tape across their eyes.
We always thank you for a great week, because we like you to have fun, but we have fun taking you out.
So anyway, you'll notice the last picture here with the rainbow came up with this expression. I just thought it was cool. It's a long way from home, right next door. It's not as far away from as Palau. It's not as far away as the Indo-Pacific, some of those other places. It's one extra step to get here. But you know what? When you get here, you've got to put yourself in that frame of mind that I'm going to a remote island. I'm going to see some amazing diving. I'm going to eat well. I've got a nice clean room. We're not fancy. We know it. We're comfortable in our own skin. We're small town people. But you know what? The next time you come back, we're going to remember your name. And if you don't come back, we kind of wonder what we did wrong. So it's a relationship-based operation. And that's why some of our customers have been coming back literally for 35 to 40 years. And they've become our friends. And so we encourage you to give us a shot if you haven't. And again, I want to thank Amy and Elisa and Javier and Betsy for helping put this whole thing together. It's a lot of work, but it's a great format to bring this to your home and wherever you're at. And we hope to see you in San Salvador someday. And thank you again for tuning in.
Thank you, Tyler and Betsy. I didn't know if we were going to run a video at this point, but we can go into the question and answer session. Javier can let me know if that's the plan. Okay. I will say that quickly, I mean, you couldn't hear us, but we're all laughing, smiling, saying, oh, that's cool, or I'd love to see that. So even though you can't hear us, that's what's been going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, that whole thing's a little weird.
Yeah. but
usually
it's great. Yeah.
Usually I'm used to people throwing stuff at me. And
yeah. All righty. Well, Javier's going to run the video now. Thank you.
Riding Rock Resort and Marina has been a top diving destination for decades. Finally, after many months, we'd like to welcome you back to our tropical island paradise. Beginning October 15th, we will once again be open and invite you to experience our warm, clear water and breathtaking reef ecosystem. While you are away, we've been preparing our resort to ensure your safety with the highest possible cleanliness standards and new protocols for keeping our environment pristine. To prepare for your visit, be sure to visit www.bahamas.com/tourism-reopening for the latest information regarding COVID and the Bahamas. In order to protect our guests the best we can, we will adhere with government guidelines for masking and social distancing. Once here, you'll enjoy the same world-class diving experience that Riding Rock Resort and Marina is famous for. Most of our dive sites are just a short boat ride from the dock. Every one of our dives is a different experience, ranging from steep drop-offs to pinnacles and deep crevices. you'll encounter marine life of every description. With sharks on constant patrol, you'll be approached by friendly groupers and other aquatic residents. Reef fish school in abundance, and our walls are adorned with coral and sponges, sea fans, and countless invertebrates of every shape and color. So while getting here is a little less convenient, your experience will be oh so worth it.
That's great. Oops. Now we're going to have Amy Garrow join us, and she will bring up the questions for the last 15 minutes of our session, or a little bit less than that. So Amy, if you want to come on, and thank you again, Tyler and Betsy. It was wonderful.
Thank you.
So Amy, you had quite a few questions on that I saw. Somebody asked about Nitrox.
Yes, they are asking about Nitrox, how the Nitrox tanks are handled. If you could answer that, Tyler.
Yeah. Okay. Am I on?
You are.
Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, we Nitrox has been an issue over the years historically. I mean, for many, many years, we've dived these profiles thousands of times. We've not had issue, but Nitrox is much more popular today. We encourage Nitrox when we have it. We have to get it currently from Club Med. When Club Med is open, we can get it. There's an additional charge per tank because I'm purchasing it from Club Med. So not everybody will dive every dive Nitrox. Some people will dive all dives Nitrox, but some people do one dive or two dives. Now, in the works, we're trying to secure a Nitrox system. We're in the process because Club Med is going to be closed for the next year. So at this moment, we don't have access to it. 3 months from now, I hope we have access to it. That's the plan. So it's in the works as we speak. So it would be available every dive for kind of a package price for the week, if that's the way you want to do it.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to do it. We have another question. Are there any wreck dives?
No, this is not a wreck destination because it seems as though every wreck that hit the reef fell off into thousands of feet of water.
Okay.
Yeah.
Randy on Facebook, he would like to know what the camera facilities are for photographers. Is there a camera room? Is there a camera table on the boat? Rinse tanks on the boat? How do you deal with photography?
So we have a rinse bucket on both boats for cameras only. And then on G3, we have a camera table. So if we have both boats going out, we try to put those with larger camera systems on G3 to accommodate. We don't necessarily have a camera room. We did have a beautiful camera developing room way back in the time, but now with digital, it's kind of obsolete. But you know, obviously the dive shop is your dive shop for the week. So you're welcome to take over the table. We have some upper bench area and whatnot. If your camera system is quite heavy, shall we say, or large, we can also try and accommodate getting you back and forth from, it's only a 3 to 5 minute walk, but if, you know, some people
We just take it back to the room with
yeah,
it.
we can accommodate getting them back to the room with their camera.
I will add in there also, just very quickly, we did handle a complete BBC nature film crew with about 4 huge camera setups. We were able to make it work.
Okay, Dan on Facebook is asking, what is the average water temperature?
So water temperatures will range, obviously seasonally, will range from about 75, the coldest we get, to about 85. So it peaks out in about September. And the rule that I use, it drops 1 to 2 degrees per month until you hit about March. And then it starts to work its way back up. but you'll see a range from 75 to 85 at the high.
So 3 mil suit should be fine.
That depends on your tolerance for cold. And we have people go in the 75-degree water and they're not wearing anything, and I'm impressed.
And I'm in a 5.
And we have other people that do 7. So it depends. It really, to me, Amy, it kind of depends. I mean, it depends on the depth you're diving too, because you lose the loft of the suit, the compression of the suit as you go deeper. So if you do deeper diving in the winter months, you might want to have a thicker suit.
Okay. Robert on Facebook is asking, for the older divers, will you arrange to put on a tank down on the dive platform, and will you tank the tank off of them before they walk up the stairs?
Yep, we'll accommodate
Absolutely.
any special needs that way. As long as, we just like to know up front.
Robert, you don't have to be old. We'll do it for anyone.
We did you, didn't we, Amy?
Yes. I have Tanya from Facebook. She would like to know if you're able to handle adaptive divers or handicap divers at all.
Well, we have had some aspects of that, some degree of disablement we're able to handle, but in terms of lifts, power lifts, or
Floating docks, we don't have.
yes, that's a little more of a challenge, getting on and off the boat. But depending on the level of disablement, we can handle some of that. If she's interested, I would like to talk to her more specifically about that, because we can make some special arrangements too if we know ahead of time.
Okay. We have Sonia on Facebook, and she's asking if there's any dietary requirements that you guys will be able to handle for them, like gluten-free, or they can't eat wheat and things like that.
One of the things I do before the group comes down, I'll be in contact with the group leader, or if you're booking just through Amy, through Caradonna, we just ask that you let them know, because the logistics of getting food to the island, it comes in we have to order 2 weeks ahead. So
Right.
somebody gets on that island and then they say, you know what, I'm vegan, I'm gluten-free. We're making a lot of trips to the grocery store, where it can be pre-ordered ahead of time if we know ahead of time.
And sometimes the grocery store doesn't always have stuff to accommodate. So
Yeah.
we like to be able to accommodate everybody's dietary needs.
If we have a dive shop that likes to have drinks, happy hour, after they've done their diving, and I know I've been there for happy hour, and I know they've served conch fritters and things like that in the bar, but do you know if there's an option to add a drinks package on?
We haven't, that's something you would want to bring up with Michelle regarding the
But they do have the happy hour usually with the appetizers and things, or no?
Couple times a week.
Right.
Okay.
Right. But we don't have a drink package per se, like when you go to some resorts.
Right. Okay.
Additional certain amount.
And you have a very nice pool we saw in the videos, and you have the loungers, and those loungers can be moved to the beach, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's good swimming in front of the resort and good snorkeling, you think, or?
Yeah, well, not directly. I mean, it is right in front of the resort. It's a little more difficult entry to get down the rocks. But if you go down to the beach, if you start at the dive shop, because it's about 2 or 3 minute walk from the hotel to the dive shop, then you walk over the dunes and the beach is all right there. You're going to be by yourself, and it's cool snorkeling, cool, fabulous swimming. Yeah.
Okay, and the water, so is it usually calm? The water, is it usually calm in the morning and then it picks up in the afternoon, or does it all depend on the winds, or how does that work? Do you know?
Well, it's really variable, but seasonally you can make some cheap predictions as you go into the winter and you go into the shoulder seasons. You're going to have more circulation patterns where the wind may come out of the west. When that happens, occasionally we do get shut out. Occasionally we don't dive, but it's rare. But it can get rough. It can get really rough on that side. But in terms of percentages, your best chance is on the side of the island we're at.
Right. Okay. And the dive sites, I know that you had shown on your presentation, but the dive sites range anywhere from 5 to 25-minute boat ride at the most.
From like, yeah, well, you've been there, Amy, you know, like 3 minutes. You're on, and
Yeah.
as you know, some really good sites within 10 minutes. I mean,
We have some customers that get seasick. So,
correct. And
you know.
you know what? And I do too sometimes. And I'm pretty, I mean, I think we all have a threshold, right?
Yes.
I'll tell you that I'm very aware, I'm very sensitive to that, and so is Betsy, in terms of it does seem a little bit rough. We're going to, it's easy for us to change the plan because of the number of sites we have. We can go some areas where it's not going to be as windy and wavy, but we are always looking at that because it just from the standpoint, if it's too rough, it's not a concern of, you know, whether a diver can handle a rough surface, but it's the getting in and out of the boat that concerns us. But it's also being aware that there may be a bunch of people on the boat, and if it's rocking really rough, then they're not feeling so well. So we're cognizant, we're aware of that.
So depending on which dive site you're at, you come in after every dive for the surface interval at the dive shop?
Nope, we can come in on request. If it is a little rougher, we'll often tuck back in. Again, if it's rough, the nice thing is we've got sites that are really close. In fact, we can now, with the sites that we've opened up, we can dive you all week, which I just did with my group in January. We can dive you all week within no more than 10 minutes outside of that marina going north or south. We got the right conditions.
That's great.
I think we're going to have to wrap up the question and answer session now because we go into a limited time where the system just won't allow us to go any further. But you can see the amount of questions Amy has. Is there anything else topical that we can end the presentation on that you might want to add?
I just have one more question from someone on Facebook. When would you think that the best visibility would be, like in the summer months or?
Summertime. Summertime, because that's when the water is the most calm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Summer months, but
okay.
Yeah, but you know, the fall is a fabulous time to be there as well because the water temperatures are still high, clarity's good, fronts haven't started coming down from Florida, and it's a little cooler, a little less humidity topside.
Okay, that's all I have for you on that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you, Tyler and Betsy, and of course to Michelle as well, the family owners of Riding Rock Resort and Marina. The destination is open. They do follow safety protocols. There are some great Bahamas air credits that are out there for our clients that you're able to take advantage of. And as you can see, there's so many questions. Amy and all of our staff are available to answer the questions. And of course, Tyler and Betsy are a resource to us that, as you can tell, just amazing divers and leaders. So thank you so much and hope to see you all in the Bahamas soon.
Thank you too. It was great.
Take care.
Mm-hmm.